Theodore. He's a tugboat and a friendly tugboat too. A friendly tugboat too. Oh, Theodore likes to do the things that friendly tugboats do. Pushing and a pulling in the great big harbor, in the great big world is so much fun. So many brand new things to discover. Waking with the sun, gotta get the job done. Oh, Theodore and Emily, Theodore, Hank and George, and the harbor master too.
It was a big, bright, beautiful summer day in the big harbor. All the tugs were still asleep. All except for Hank. Hank was up early and almost bursting his bumpers with excitement over all the wonderful things he wanted to do today. He felt happier than happy. Theodore was up now. "Theodore! Theodore!" called Hank, and he nuzzled him a little just to make him extra awake. "Do you want to see who can be first to the oil pumps?" "No, Hank," replied Theodore. I'm still sleepy." "Oh," replied Hank. "Oh, I'm sorry, Theodore."
Hank, nobody has that kind of energy in the morning. Can you do us all a favor and just take it down a notch, please? So with Theodore being the first no of the day, Hank tries to do something else with George.
"George, guess what? The work meeting doesn't start for 9 whole minutes. Do you want to visit Blue Nose with me?" "Hank, your anchor is dangling again," grumbled George. "Oops," said Hank. I thought I tucked it in, but do you want to visit Blue Nose with me?" "No," replied George. Well, Hank floated back to his dock to wait for the dispatcher to begin the morning work meeting.
Okay, Two Nose. And not for nothing, but how the hell do you know if Blue Nose is even awake? Geez, Hank, I get you're in a good mood, but again, chill. So later that morning, the tugs line up in front of the dispatcher to begin the morning work meeting.
"We have a big oil tanker arriving soon," said the dispatcher. "Theodore, Emily, and George, proceed to the harbor entrance." Now, Hank thought that bringing in an oil tanker would be lots of fun. "Oh, can I help too?" he said. "No, Hank. But I do have a job for you. Bonavista barge is a load of bumpers. I would like you to take her around the harbor and replace the broken bumpers on the docks. That is all." Well, replacing broken old bumpers wasn't the kind of job Hank had been hoping for, but Hank set off with his sunniest smile. Well, maybe his second sunniest smile.
Yeesh, 3 no's already? I'd be blowing my top off by now. Even if replacing broken bumpers isn't what he wanted at first, Hank's still managing to keep a smile. At least he was, until he ran into Theodore.
"Theodore, Hank called. "Yes, Hank," Theodore said. "What is it?" "Do you want to race to Bonavista barge?" said Hank. "No, Hank," replied Theodore. "I'm very busy now." And with that, Theodore went on his way. No. To Hank, it seemed like that was all anybody had been saying to him ever since he woke up. Hank floated there, alone in the middle of the busy harbor. All of a sudden, sunshine didn't seem so bright. The water not quite as warm. But then, just as suddenly, Hank smiled again. "I bet Bonavista barge will want to do things I want to do."
4 no's? That's more than I'd be able to handle. And yet, Hank keeps on smiling. He eventually gets to Bonavista's dock and begins to tow the barge out into the harbor.
Bonavista, said Hank. "Would you like me to take you the long way around today? That way we can see lots of things." "No, Hank," replied Bonavista. Hank couldn't believe his ears. A barge had said no to him. Hank could feel all the no's everyone had said to him, building up inside like hot steam in a kettle. "It's not fair," he shouted to the whole harbor. "No one wants to do what I want to do. Well, I don't want to move dumb old bumpers, and I don't want to work today, and I don't even want to be a tugboat anymore." Now, all the other tugboats who were heading off to work heard Hank blow his stack, and they couldn't believe it. "I've never seen Hank lose his temper before," said George. "What's the matter with him?" said Emily. "I'll find out," said Theodore, and he set off right away to talk to his friend. "Hank," called Theodore, "why did you yell like that? What's the matter?" "Nothing," replied Hank quietly. "I just want to be by myself." "Are you sure that's what you want?" Theodore said. But Hank just stared at his anchor. This wasn't like Hank at all.
And the little fuse inside Hank just exploded. 5 times being told no. Surprised he had this much patience. So now that Hank is refusing to speak to anyone, George and Fodak decide to go over and try to get him to talk.
"There seem to be plenty of broken bumpers to replace today," said Fodak thoughtfully. Hank didn't answer. "So," Fodak went on, "everything shipshape. Your oil's not overheating, is it?" "No," replied Hank. "Well, good. That's good," said Fodak. "Does your hull hurt? Maybe there are barnacles in your bilge water." "I don't think so," said Hank. "Hank," said George, who was beginning to lose his patience, "why did you shout like that in the middle of the harbor? What is the matter with you?" "Nothing," replied Hank. "I just want to be by myself." "Well," grumbled George, who really didn't know what else to say, just do your best." And with that, George and Fodak turned and headed back to the other tugboats.
Well, no luck so far. Must be heat rash and barnacles. You'll get over it. Maybe. Anyway, after the first failed attempt, Emily then offers to talk to Hank after work.
"Hank, are you upset about something?" said Emily. "Oh, I don't know," replied Hank. "Did someone make you angry?" asked Emily. This time Hank didn't say anything. "Look," said Emily suddenly. "There's Bedford Bowie. Would you like to race me to him?" "Oh, you go ahead, Emily," said Hank quietly. "I can't race by myself." Emily frowned. She was beginning to lose her patience with Hank. "Hank," she said finally, "what is the matter with you today?" "Oh, I just want to be by myself, Emily," said Hank. Then be by yourself," replied Emily. Well, she didn't mean to sound angry with Hank. She was really upset at herself for not being able to make him feel better. Hank watched Emily sail off. He knew he kept saying he wanted to be by himself, but somehow it didn't make him feel very good when Emily left. In fact, it made him feel even worse.
Hank, we get that you're ticked, but you can't be alone forever. It ain't gonna do you any good. All of the other tugs knew this too. That's when Theodore devised a plan with the others to make Hank feel better.
"Hi, Hank," he called. "Oh, hi, Theodore," replied Hank in a soft voice. "You're having a bad day, huh, Hank?" said Theodore after a moment. "I'm having a really bad day, Theodore," said Hank. "I've an idea," said Theodore. And Hank said nothing. "I think you might really like this idea," continued Theodore. "We need to go over there," said Theodore. "Over there?" said Hank. The two tugs floated slowly around the bend. And then Hank saw all the other tugboats, and they were smiling at him. "Hi, everybody," he said. "What are you all doing here?" "We're going to give you a tug hug," said Theodore. "A tug hug?" said Hank. "What's that?" "Well," replied Theodore, "it goes like this." The other tugboats all formed a circle around Hank. And then moved really, really close to him until their bumpers were all nuzzling together. "This is a tug hug," said Theodore. Well, Hank began to giggle. "I really like tug hugs," he said. And everyone began to laugh and toot their whistles with glee. And just like a dark cloud blowing away and the sun coming out again, Hank felt just the way he'd felt when he'd woken up that morning. happier than happy. Thank you, Theodore, said Hank. I feel much better now. I do too, Hank, replied Theodore. I do too. We all do, said the others.
And that concludes Hank and the Hug. I never thought Hank could be so relatable. I will admit there are times when there are some people who do tend to get on my nerves, and I do end up losing my temper. Most of us do, for that matter. In that sense, the story is good at showing all of us the importance that even though sometimes our friends or family may anger us at times, they still love us at the end of the day. And it really is heartwarming to see how much the Tugs care for one another. The visuals were, once again, pretty standard, with a few glimpses of certain Harbour locations. And once again, the music was pretty much standard, apart from ones like Hank's anger and depressed themes. If any of you ever have one of your bad days, I'd recommend giving this a watch. Who knows, maybe all you need at the end of the day is a gentle tug hug. Next up is Emily and the Rocket.